Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Bovin, and welcome back. Man, took a little vacation weekend there. Sorry for not having a show on Wednesday. If you all saw that, we had to cancel due to some family emergencies. Thank you all to the love and support. You guys reached out. Greatly appreciate it. Although now we're all healthy, we're all good, everything's great. So now we're back into the show this week. So like I said, last week's show that we had with Ty on Wednesday, he's going to be on for Thursday this upcoming week. So we've been doing 4 shows this week, not just the 3. Anyways, if this is your first time tuning into the show, welcome. Each week we do a live show Monday through Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Each week we cover a new state. This week we are in Montana. And with me tonight is, besides our guest, it's the Deucer. He's finally back. I joked around about firing him. So I text him saying, hey, you're on thin ice. If not, if you don't come back to the show, we're gonna have to terminate him. So the Deucer's back, so we're looking forward to that. So I'm happy and sad at the same time because I'm really looking forward to canceling him. Anyways, I kid. If I do ask, though, as the listener and the audience out there, to put your quarter in the slot machine, and what do I mean by that is I strongly believe that hunting is a dying sport, a dying lifestyle, everything involved with hunting. It's just everything's going away with it. So I ask everyone out there listening to put your quarter in the slot machine. What I mean by that is to help share the show. Help get us one new friend out there. It greatly means a lot to us, everyone out there that is supportive of the show. I can't say thank you enough. And you can also find all of our old episodes on our YouTube page, Waypoint TV, on their app. And also we're going to be on Carbon TV now. Looking for a launch date of Wednesday, the 26th of June. So here in a couple of days, we're going to look to make sure that's going to be a great day. Outside of that, welcome. And like I said, this is Montana Week. It's Monday, June 24th, episode 82. And let's give a round of applause for our guest tonight, Josh. There we go.
Hey, everyone.
What's up, Josh?
Oh,
how's your day going, brother?
You guys? Oh, pretty good. Nice, easy day.
Oh, man. What's the temperature like out there in Montana right now? Because the last week was like 90 and 100, like the devil's ball sack. And today it was like 80, 85.
Well, last Monday, I was coming back from Missoula, and we had about 6 inches of snow going over Rogers Pass. And then Sunday, it was 93. And today, I think we're sitting at about 82.
It's like you guys have like a weird
big
flow.
Oh, yeah. A couple times in February, we were hitting negative 40s, and then that same month, we were in the 60s.
Wow. See, my favorite time of year is, besides hunting season, is when it's like 60, 65. I can wear shorts and a sweater. To me, that is the best comfortable weather that can possibly be around.
Oh, definitely. Well, out here, hunting season doesn't really end. There's something you can hunt every month out of the year.
Okay, now I'm already jealous anyway as a Montana. Jeez, this is... Anyways, Josh, for anyone that doesn't know you, can you give a little background about who you are?
So my name is Josh Leibrandt. I'm living in Great Falls, Montana, but I grew up in Wisconsin. I moved out here after I got out of the Marine Corps. I'm 26, and I got into hunting with my dad around 3, started going out with him for turkeys, and then 6 or 7 started going out with him for deer and got my first deer at 11.
So you can start hunting. What's the starting age then out there in Montana?
So Montana, I think it's 12. But Wisconsin, I mean, there's no age for Wisconsin now with the mentorship program, if I remember correctly. But at the time when I was able to, the age was 10.
Okay. Yeah, here in Michigan it was 14, and they bumped it to 12, and I think they just got rid of the age requirement because they're just trying to get more youth outside. And also didn't get to mention thank you for your service, brother.
Oh, thank you.
So, what is your 4-2 or your go-to? You have a bunch of animals out there to hunt. Is whitetail deer your main one to go after? Elk, antelope? What's it like out there?
Whitetail and elk are the big ones I go after. I've been getting more into mule deer now that I've lived out here for a few years. Antelope is draw even for the residents, and the draws are getting harder and harder. Even the archery tag used to even be a guaranteed tag, and it's not guaranteed anymore. I think it's around, as a resident, it's either high 70s or low 80s to draw it.
Wow.
And then bear tags are all over the counter. Cougar tags are all over the counter. Wolf tags are all over the counter. And then like buffalo, mountain goat, sheep, moose, all that's all draw.
Dang, though. To be in a state where you can hunt all those animals and those high-class predator animals, that's got to be pretty fun, though, in a way.
Oh, it gets very time consuming, but it's a blast. And then our off season, my buddy and I do a lot of thermal hunting for pest animals, so coyotes, badgers, raccoons, porcupines, all that kind of stuff.
So you're hunting year round.
Oh yeah. I take a break in June and July to enjoy a little bit of fishing, and then August hits and start scouting again for elk.
What are you doing? Let's talk about elk for a little bit. What are you doing scouting for on e-scouting? I'm assuming you use that a lot, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
What are you looking for when you're scouting for elk out there just on the e-scouting, then out in the woods?
So on the e-scouting, what I like to do is I like to find, and what's worked for me last year, I'd find high spots where I can view a whole bunch of different open areas, and I'll go up there and spend an hour, 2 hours glassing. I generally like to try and find spots that look like they could be travel corridors and close to bordering private. I know a lot of people don't like hunting closer to there, but especially come rifle season, I'll sit pretty close to the private, try and catch them coming back and forth between the big ranches, getting pushed out by other people who are running on side-by-sides or just walking aimlessly.
I figured hunting out there, you're elk hunting or whitetail deer hunting, I'm sure there's that added factor of, oh shit, there's bears out here. You got to deal with the wolves. What's that feeling like?
When you actually run into one, I ran into 2 grizzlies last year. Only saw wolves once while hunting. Grizzlies is definitely a bit of a pucker factor. I was hunting with one of my buddies who's a sheriff out here, and we ran into one at about 100 yards and kind of came around a corner near some aspens, and it was standing on the edge of the woods next to a clearing, and it kind of just stood up and snapped its jaws at us and lumbered off. And we're like, yep, it's time to go find a new spot to hunt now. And then the other one, buddy and I were pretty sure it was a grizzly. We're walking up in the dark, trying to get up to the spot where we knew the elk were going to be crossing through in the morning once daylight came, and had a big bear cut in front of us at about 30 yards running up out of a ditch. And we just looked at each other and sat there for a few minutes till we couldn't hear anything, and then just decided to keep walking.
Shit, man.
It's
you and I talked on the phone when we were trying to figure out if you get on the show. You were telling me a story, though.
Oh, what about?
Yeah, now I can't remember part of this. You were out. It's something with a grizzly bear, and someone shot it. I think it was.
Oh,
or
There's a grizzly bear that was killed last year in self-defense. And from the tip of the grizzly's nose to the shell casings, according to our friend who owns the gun store down where it was down in the area where it was killed, was 7 feet. And if I remember right, the federal warden still wrote him a ticket because he didn't deploy bear spray.
Yeah, see, I don't get that. It's one thing if you see a bear coming or whatever, I don't know, but you're 6 to 8 feet away from a bear. The bear spray, fuck that shit. I'm grabbing my gun and I'm shooting that motherfucker.
Oh yeah, no, I bring it with me for the chance that I do get to use it, but if it's not a false charge, I'm going for my gun right away. I'm not going to chance bear spray, especially with the amount of wind we get out here. I mean, it could blow right back in your face, and then you're just giving the bear some seasoning before it eats you.
I remember talking to a guest from Idaho, and they said shooting a grizz was like a death sentence. So like you shouldn't even report it because you're just going to go straight to prison with a whole bunch of fines. So you're better off just picking up a shell case and be like, yeah, I wasn't here, and not reporting it basically.
They take shooting them in self-defense pretty seriously. I'm on the SCI board here in Great Falls, and I mean, this just could have been hearsay, but somebody in the chapter was saying something about there was a guy who a handful of years back shot one that was trying to rip through his front door, like shot it off of his porch, and it took 2 years of them investigating him before he was cleared.
2 years?
Now, I haven't looked into the story myself, so it could just be some hearsay, a little over exaggeration, but with
Still,
how seriously I've heard they take grizzlies and just seeing some of it, it would not surprise me.
What's it like hunting out there knowing that, yeah, grizzlies like right around the corner? And then let's say you shoot a deer, and you're like, oh, let's just hope nothing gets to it before I get to it.
I mean, it definitely adds another factor to paying attention when you're out there. So you're not only worrying about spooking the animals that you're chasing and looking around for them, but also looking around for predators, signs of predators, all of that. It's a whole different level of making sure you're on top of your game.
Now I know you're a bow hunter because we thought that was the guitar string on your keys there, end up being just your quiver. But does that make you?
Yeah.
How do I want to phrase the question? With your bow hunting, does that put a little more stress on you that you make sure to put the quickest kill possible so they don't travel far, so I can kind of watch them to make sure no other animal gets it?
I worry a little bit less with the bow hunting. I mean, I always want to make an ethical shot, but not so much that way. I'm less worried bow hunting. Rifle hunting, I mean, when you're rifle hunting, if you're in like heavy grizzly country, I mean, you're ringing a dinner bell for them when you shoot.
Really?
Yep. I have not shot the area where I go and hunt. I haven't shot an elk down there. One of my friends did a couple years ago, and he was saying that while they were cleaning out the elk and quartering it out and everything, within half hour of them getting started on that, they had a grizzly that was circling the clearing that they were in.
Oh, shit, man. Man, Montana's rough out there, though.
No, it definitely is a different lifestyle.
Let's get into some whitetails here. So, what is your tactics out there? You tree stand hunting? You out there stalking them? What's your go-to?
A lot of spot and stalk, and then I brought some of the tactics that we used to use river bottom hunting in Wisconsin out here as well. So we'll do a lot of river bottom pushes where we're trying to see what we can jump up and then kind of do. I got one buddy that I do most of my hunting with, so him and I all kind of space out separately. So one of us is walking through the thick, and then one is kind of walking either up where we think they're going to cut out if we got the river as a boundary, or where he can see where they're going to cut out well, so we can put a stalk on them from there if we don't get a good shot.
Are you doing a lot of e-scouting on there?
For the whitetails, some, not as much. It's a more so to find where the different pieces of public are, and to find out if there's actually access to it. Because just because it's public doesn't mean you can hunt it. There's a lot of landlocked property, public land out here.
Public land lot. What do you mean by that?
There's no easement access to it. So there could be a section right in the center, and there's sections all the way around it. If there's not a public easement to it, you can't go hunt it.
Huh.
And if I remember right, even though the corner case was won in Wyoming, that did not set a precedent for here in Montana.
So they're saying if it's public land, but you don't have access into it, you can't hunt it?
Yep.
That's fucking weird.
So if there's even if there's a road to it, if that road's a private road that was put in by somebody who lives next to it, or a rancher or something like that, and it's not maintained by state, county, anything like that, it is trespassing to go back on that road to access that land.
You can't just walk in through the woods, though?
Nope.
I'm sorry. I don't do a lot of public hunting. I've never hunted outside of Michigan, so this is all new to me. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. That's, huh?
I'll see. Let me see. Find something quick, and I'll send the coordinates over to you. If you can you pull up Onyx to kind of give a show what I'm talking about on the podcast.
I think I can try that. Yeah, because it's a little weird. I got Spartan Forge here, so let's log into that thing. Huh. Oop, nope, wrong one. Wrong email account. Sorry about that.
Okay. Do you want me to text it over to you, or the coordinates? Just pull it up. Okay.
Let me get this going. Of course, now internet wants to be. There we go. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's go to Montana there. Yes, we're gonna allow. Here, let's just I'm gonna share my screen here, and then you walk me through it here.
Okay.
Deucer, you got me there? Okay, good.
Okay. So if you zoom into Great Falls, should be, if you go to, what would that be? Kind of in that half moon around the mountain is where Great Falls is.
Right here?
Nope, to the left a little more. Right about where your mouse is. Shoot.
Right in there?
Yep, right in there. Maybe a little north of there, but that'll get us close enough.
Okay. Huh.
So what is that one right there?
This
That
says
larger one
Freeze
right
Out Lake Wildlife Management Area.
Okay, so freeze out. From freeze out, it'll be a little bit to the west.
Now I'm seeing Sun River Wildlife Management Area.
Okay. No, that's too far. Where's that one? Here, I'll text you over these coordinates for one that'll give a good kind of give a good explanation of what I'm talking, where that one go.
Okay.
Oh, come on, where's that piece at now? Okay. So the coordinates I just texted you, if you type those in, it should take you right to that piece.
All right, let's see here. 47, 6, 9. Montana State Trust Lands.
Yep. So any of those are going to be state of Montana. Generally public hunt. But with there being no,
you can't hunt these areas though if there's no access into it.
Nope. If there is no road into it, you cannot cross through somebody else's property to get there unless you get permission from the landowner. And because people have treated the land, especially the ranchers, they don't treat it with respect. Most of the landowners will tell you to kick rocks.
Then what's the fucking point of having public land?
That is one of the big issues out here for hunting. A lot of this land was designated as state-owned land before a lot of this became issues. Like talking to some of my buddies out here 20, 30 years ago, you used to be able to get to a lot of these places.
So do you have a lot of public land out there in Montana?
Yes, there's a lot of public land. So there's BLM land, state land, Forest Service, and then Montana has a BMA program, which is public land put into public access, private land put into public access. So one of the biggest ones that's private land put into access is a big section of the Sebin Ranch, and they put tens of thousands of acres into public access. And then for BMA type 1, anybody can go out and hunt it, and there's just normally a sign-in box. And then the ranchers get paid by the state based on, if I understand it correctly, ranchers get paid by the state based on how many people come through and hunt. And then BMA type 2 is a little bit more restricted. The rancher says, hey, I only want 5 people a week coming and hunting my property. So there's a phone number that you call into FWP, Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, to register to be one of those people. And then you and the 4 other people are the only ones who have access to hunt that piece for the week then.
So you can, as a private landowner, you can give access to certain X amount of people.
You can either do it so it's open to everybody, which would be BMA type 1, or you can do it so it's open to a certain number of people, which is BMA type 2.
Oh. Do a lot of people out there in Montana do that?
There's quite a bit of property in the BMA program.
Well, that's good that they're helping people out reach these areas to hunt. Are people finding success on those pieces of land?
Oh yeah. So there's one piece of BMA that I hunt. It's a BMA type 1. I haven't really hit any of the BMA type 2s. If you're willing to put in the work, there's good enough hunting on the public and the BMA type 1s that I don't feel like just messing around with it. But there's one what was it, 2 years ago when I was hunting out here, we'd see 15, 20 whitetails every time we'd go out and hunt there.
Wow. Now, what are the whitetails? Are they getting big out there, weight-wise and antler-wise?
Not as many. So I guess maybe not giving it a fair shake. My family came from farming in Buffalo County, so we did a lot of our hunting in Buffalo County, Wisconsin. So we had big racks, big bodies. Not really giving it too fair of a shake, but body size, when I'm processing a doe, I can probably get 55 to 65 pounds off of her. Mature buck, 70, 80.
Huh. I feel like, do you have a lot of, I'm trying to figure out where this question here is. Do you have a lot of deer population? The deer population high out there? Because I feel like with grizz and all those predators out there, they're kind of destroying a lot of the whitetail deer herd.
It's not as bad on the whitetails because the whitetails are less in, at least where I've hunted in Montana, there's not as many predators in those areas. So, I mean, they still have coyotes, the occasional wolves, but a lot of the whitetail hunting is in the plains and the river bottoms, and you don't run into as many grizzlies or wolves there.
Man, Montana just sounds like a state where it's like, it sounds hard as shit to hunt out there, though, if you're not used to it.
Yeah. Finding does has been pretty easy. Mature bucks is definitely harder, but our rifle season runs through the rut here. So that does give you a little bit of a leg up. As far as whitetails go, I've seen probably 3 or 4 that I'd put on the wall out here. So like
Where
140 or bigger.
Where are you finding these mature whitetails out there? Or are they hard to come by?
Honestly, they're a little bit harder to come by. I've seen quite a few in the like 2-3-year-old 120 class, but the bigger ones are definitely hard to come by. And sometimes you find them where you least expect them. 2 years ago, a buddy of mine, Matt, he shot a 150 class buck out in the middle of the plains. Nowhere near any water, nowhere near really any good ag fields. Out in the coulees in the middle of nowhere, where you'd expect to find mule deer.
Where would you generally find whitetails then?
A lot of river bottoms and then ag fields near water. There are some up in the mountains, but I personally have not seen too many.
I guess when you think of Montana for whitetail deer, and this is just whatever you stereotype, whatever, because Montana, I just don't see a lot of trees where you get set up on them. I feel like you'd have to do a lot more of mobile hunting, spot and stalk type of deal.
When we're not hunting the river bottoms, that's how we do most of our hunting. It's a lot of, we're driving out to this piece, and if we can glass the whole thing from the road, we will. If we can't, we get out to a high point where we can, and we'll glass around the entire area. And if there's anything even remotely close to the public, we'll go try and cut off where we think it's going to come across. And if they cross, they do. If they don't, they don't, and head over to the next spot.
With you being from Wisconsin and now in Montana, have you seen a big difference in hunting between the two states?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people road hunt out here, or don't really leave the trails too much. So like last year, even during archery season last year, I had 3 different elk herds I had blown out by people on side by sides.
Dang. And
A lot of people won't go too far from the road. They'll go the legal distance they need to take a shot when they do, but a lot of people just drive up and down the roads looking for stuff.
and I know we touched on this before with your gun season being in the rut. What's your season start till its end date for whitetail deer?
For whitetails, first or second weekend of September through end of November.
So if you're in September, you can do some velvet hunting then.
Oh yeah. I had what did I see? Opening weekend last year, I had 3 bucks come by that were still in velvet.
And when's the rut then out there?
Our rut's a little bit later. It's normally the last 2 weeks of November.
It's the last 2 weeks in November?
Yep. Sometimes that was when I saw the most activity.
Okay. So are you doing, when you're picking out these trees out there, are you doing like a saddle type deal or like a preset hung stand?
Oh no, I'm all on the ground. I have not hunted with tree stand or saddle at all out here.
You're strictly on the ground.
Strictly on the ground.
Wow. Are you using a blind, or are you just kind of like hiding behind brush?
Sagebrush, and then in the river bottoms are all pretty thick, so a lot of just still hunting through them.
Have you found a lot of success doing that? Because I feel like you're just because deer's eyesight is just pretty impeccable. So I feel like I know it's done, but I feel like that's kind of that's a real hard thing to do.
So I got 3 does last year, and I should have gotten one of the bucks last year. I had one at about 280 yards that was a little bit bigger than the one that was in my thumbnail, and I had a misfire with my rifle shell. Primer didn't ignite the shell, and he was gone.
What's it like getting that close with a bow, though?
With a bow, I have not done too much archery hunting for deer. I did first weekend last year, and that was it. Really, it was just spot and stock through the river bottom. I'd take a couple steps, kneel down, kind of look around, and at that time, close to the rivers we're still super green, so the deer will stand out a little bit better. But if we got a really dry year, everything will be already brown, so can be pretty hard to pick them out.
What's it like for a non-resident to get a tag out there?
Just looking into it for my old man, I think at 3 years it's guaranteed, and I don't know what the percentages is for preference points going up to that.
Are there any over-the-counter tags for whitetail deer?
Not for bucks. You can get over-the-counter doe tags depending on the year and the unit. And I think they've occasionally had over-the-counter cow tags, but those cow tags, if I remember right, they are not good on Forest Service land. So you can only use them on state BLM and private.
And you have 7 units, but I mean 7 units, but in that you have your own smaller units in that, though, correct?
Yep. Yeah. So seven regions, and then each region has their own different unit breakdowns. And
how many points?
Each unit can have different rules to them. So you could be hunting one unit, and it's like, okay, you can shoot whitetail bucks, mule deer does, whitetail does, and then the next unit you can only shoot whitetail bucks and whitetail does, or whitetail bucks and mule deer bucks. And it can be as different as 2 units that are right next to each other. So you gotta, I mean, there's a lot of research to do before you go hunt an area.
Do you know how? So if I wanted to put in for a buck tag for a whitetail deer, how many points do you generally need to get a high success that you're going to get drawn? Do you know off the top of your head? 2 to 3?
Yep. I don't think too many people are successful with 1 point. I've heard of people drawn with no points, but I haven't really heard anybody drawn with 1 point.
I'm assuming there's units that are higher chances of getting it with less points due to, I'm going to assume, because there's less bucks in that unit, I'm assuming.
Not really. So how it's broken down is you have your general units, which anybody with a general deer tag or general elk tag can hunt. And then you have units that draw units. And those are generally a lot harder to draw.
Now I might have misheard it, but can you do let me ask this. Is there anything over the counter for bucks? For any animal? You gotta put in for draws.
Nope. Gotta put in for draw for any bucks, any bulls.
Huh. I'm assuming you can kind of, there's that website, Go Hunt, though. They can help break the point stuff like that down, right? I'm assuming you use that. Well, you're a resident, so you don't really need to then.
I haven't used it. And don't take my word as gospel for any of the stuff for non-resident. I haven't really looked into it too much other than helping my dad set up an account to start getting points so he can come hunt out here.
He's still in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
What challenges did you learn? I'm sorry, how long you've been out there hunting now in Montana?
This will be my 3rd season. So when I spent a couple months in Wisconsin after I got out of the Marine Corps, pretty much to make money to move and look for a job. And then when I got on with an aviation contract, I moved out and hit it just perfect. So I was able to claim residency right before rifle season.
What challenges, when you first moved out there, did you have to overcome trying to hunt out there in Montana?
Really just the different topography and the different behavior. So like a 200-acre piece, you can 200 acre piece in like Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, all that, it's going to have some deer on it. You go out and glass an entire 200 acre piece and not see a single animal.
Huh.
So just the different, well, and that's in the plains. So it seems the deer congregate in bigger herds and they kind of stick to those bigger herds and larger bachelor groups. And they bed in more areas. So like where our family's farm is in Wisconsin, like there's 3 bedding areas we can pick out that if we're trying to go after a certain buck, and it's like, okay, yeah, we know he's staying in these 3 different areas pretty consistently. Out here, you'd watch a buck bed down, go out and glass him, come back the next day and follow him, and he'll bed in a different area, and he'll do that the whole week.
Yeah, because I figured being here in Michigan and Wisconsin, I'm used to throwing up a tree stand. All right, here's my stand. That's where I'm gonna hunt, and then you generally have an idea. All right, they're gonna bed over there, and they're gonna walk over here for some food, bed there, get some water in there. To me, you move out to Montana, it's like, shit, where the fuck are they? Where are they gonna bed? Where are they gonna find their food? And it just seems like in these regions out here in Illinois, Indiana, these type of states, you generally have a good sense of a small acres. That's what you only have to focus on. Montana, I feel like you have this vast open area. It's like you can kind of get overwhelmed with how the fuck I'm going to find it when you first move out there. You're first going on your first hunt out there.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time scouting. I probably spent more time scouting than I did working when I first moved up here. I'd go out a couple hours in the morning before I'd go to work, a couple hours in the evening, and then I'd be gone all weekend, every weekend leading up to hunting season. And to start with, I did some research on kind of the different behaviors out here and worked a little bit off of what I knew. So I started at the river bottoms and then branched out to, okay, where do people have ag fields that are close to water, and following those.
Do you see a lot of deer traveling through, now, I don't know the correct terminology for it right now on top of my head, but in those valleys between the mountains?
I haven't seen a ton, but the mountains are pretty thick. And so when I'm in the mountains, I'm hunting for elk. So I'm not generally at the same elevations that you're going to be searching for tons of deer at. I mean, I've seen them, but not in the numbers that you do down in the plains. I think last year when I was elk hunting, I saw 9 deer.
Huh. Yeah, it just seems like, sorry, I'm just kind of blown away with Montana. Like I said, Montana just seems like the huge fucking state, and it's just vast, and it's just, how do you break it down into this small piece of chunk of land to where you kind of get, so you don't, like I said earlier, so you don't feel overwhelmed?
I mean, you still kind of do every time you go out.
Right.
There's one spot that a buddy of mine and I have gone to, and he grew up hunting. He grew up out here and grew up hunting that area. And there's a little kind of hilltop you can go, and you can glass almost 16,000 acres in pretty much every direction because it's the high point around, and it's all coulees and little hills and all of that.
Now I was reading, I think it was Elk 101. I was kind of doing their online course a couple of years ago, and I read something where elk were, I think they go up in the morning or at night, and then they, vice versa, they move back down to the bottom of the mountain.
So I think that kind of more depends on And granted, just speaking from my own experience, I'm no expert elk hunter. I only have one under my belt so far. Should have had two last year, but hit a tree branch the size of my pinky on a 25
Oh
yard
man.
But I think it really depends. My opinion, it really depends on the pressure that they're getting and just kind of the location they're at. So there's a spot that my buddy and I hunt, and like clockwork, they're coming down. There's a handful of trails coming down the mountain that they'll come through, and for the evening, and they might come through 30 minutes before shooting light. They might come through 2 hours after shooting light. And then in the morning, they could move up an hour before daylight or 4 hours before daylight. But if they're having more pressure, they're going to go more nocturnal.
Okay.
Depends where they're getting pushed from where they're bedding as well. Because you blow out an elk herd, they're gone. They'll be county over.
There's a question here. He says, when you go out and track a certain area to hunt, do you use anything to mark it or bait it, and why?
So I'll definitely mark it. I mean, my Onyx, half Montana is covered in red dots, labeled with different stuff, but there is absolutely no baiting out here.
You can't bait at all in Montana.
At all. Not even for bears.
Huh. I guess I can see that because you got so many predators out there. So I can see why baiting's not a thing to do out there.
Yeah. And I'm not 100% sure why there's baiting for absolutely nothing. It could have to do with the predators, could have to deal with more the idea on the fair chase aspect, and then the marking the different areas, because I mean the animals can move around. You may be able to find somewhere where it's like a main travel corridor route, and it's just going to take going back to that spot and continuing to glass and making sure you don't blow them out when you do. Or you could go back there a week later and spend the weekend there and not see another animal. So it's really a lot of trial and error on trying to put a pattern on the animals. And it's definitely much harder to pattern out animals out here.
For someone that wants to go out to Montana for their first hunt, let's just say with a bow, what are some things that you tell them? What would be some things you'd tell them to be prepared for and to start training for?
Are we talking deer, elk?
What deer?
Deer. Deer. Get a boat with a jet motor and be prepared to do a lot of walking and a lot of glassing. Those pieces that I was showing you that's landlocked. Some of them do go down to the river, so you can access them through the river if you got a boat, but a lot of the rivers here you need a jet motor on. I mean, just this last weekend my buddy and I were going fishing, and there's a section of the river that's got rapids in it and rocks that are a couple inches below, and if you don't have a jet motor, you're not getting through it.
Now, are you seeing bigger deer?
Definitely lots of walking.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Definitely lots of walking and practice further out on your shots. Like I'm shooting out to, I practice out to 80, but most, ethical shot, I probably would push maybe 50, but definitely going to be generally further than the shots that I was presented with in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Are you seeing bigger deer in the winter months there or in the summer months?
Definitely going into winter with how harsh our winter's here. So they're bulking up before winter.
Yeah, I feel like Montana, just like you said, you got 6 inches of snow, what, a little while ago?
Last Monday.
Yeah, that's just freaking insane.
Oh, last year I was driving through the mountains. What was it, July 6th or July 7th? And for probably a couple mile stretch through the mountains, it was 26 degrees.
Jeez. How long are the winter months out there?
That's that's the question. That can vary by year. So first year I was out here hunting, we had snow, opener rifle, and that snow didn't go away until end of April. And then this past year was a really weird year for us. We had snow and we had a couple feet of snow, and I think it was negative 18. What would that be? Second
Really?
or third week of October. Our opener rifle season, and then snow kind of melted away, and then we got on off snow throughout the rest of the winter. But that's a weird winter for us. But yeah, definitely possibility of snow from October through April. When I moved out, there was snow on the ground, and we had a snowstorm in May, end of May.
Really?
And that stayed a handful of days.
Damn. Well, Josh, we're getting here towards the end of the show here, but I want to ask, was there a story or a topic that you get to share or we didn't get to talk about tonight?
Maybe just a bit more into the physical fitness of hunting out here if you want to be really successful. So an average weekend when my buddy and I were going out, we'd put on 8-9 miles a day. And granted, that was more so for elk, but even when I was going more after mule deer during rifle season, I was putting on pretty close to that. And it's not easy walking. One of the mornings we went after elk, we followed an elk herd 2,600 feet up a mountain.
You followed them that far?
Yeah. So 2,600 feet higher in elevation change, and we covered, what was it, like 3.8 miles in like 2.5 hours.
Dang. So no sitting on your couch eating Cheetos. You got to get outside and put some work in.
Oh, yeah. And
yeah,
the terrain is definitely just as dangerous as the animals out here. I actually tore up my meniscus a couple months ago. Well, would that be mid-April, first or second weekend bear season? And if I wasn't with my buddy, it definitely would have been tough getting out.
Oh shit!
And no cell service or anything like that in most places you're at. I mean, you can get the Garmin's with the help me button, but those helicopter rides aren't cheap.
Right. I bet they're a pretty penny. Well, Josh, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it, man. If people want to reach out to you and want to learn more about Montana, how can they do that?
You can link my Facebook in if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Well, Josh, I just want to say thank you again, brother. I greatly appreciate it, man. And you opened my eyes about Montana, man. I just feel like kind of lost. It's like, damn, how can you hunt this vast majority of area and just not feel overwhelmed and just like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed when you're out there.
Well, that Montana though is a state. Go ahead.
Oh, what was that?
I was going to say Montana is definitely a state that.
Definitely eye-opening every time you head on out. It's
right.
Some of the best views and times I've had.
Yeah, Montana is definitely a state I really want to get my feet in there, and I really got to start getting back into shape, man, because having 2 kids, though, man, you start feeling the dad pressure getting onto you. So it's like, man, I got to get back in the gym.
Oh, I'm sure. I've mostly gone away from the gym and pretty much just do hiking training.
Yeah, the outdoors is my gym.
That's yep. Yeah, keep scouting and hunting year round will do pretty good at keeping you in shape.
Well, Josh, I just want to say thank you again, brother, and we'll stay in touch. Okay, man?
Sounds good.
All right. See you, Josh. Oh, man. Yeah, Montana's definitely a state where it's like, oh, shit. You really need to be well in shape and make sure you kind of, I don't want to say throw everything you've learned about whitetail deer out the window, because you still could use some of that knowledge, but I just feel like Montana would be that state where it's like you're basically learning from scratch, and it's a vast majority of area. So, but I think if you really want to test your limits, I think Montana or a state out west to do that. And I believe Montana would be the state definitely to really push your limits. But thank you, Josh, for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it, man. Like I said, and for everyone out there watching and listening, thank you for tuning into tonight's show, episode 82. Make sure you put your cord in the slot machine. And we forgot to say this at the beginning. If you use the code GP10, GP10, you get 10% discount on the products at Gilly Puck. So go check them out. Make sure you also go check out MAGNUS Broadheads and go check out Grizz Media. With that being said, we're going to end now for tonight, episode 82. And look forward to tomorrow's show, episode 83 on Tuesday, June 25th. Deucer, let's take us out, man.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.